As you're no doubt aware, my channel generally looks at murder. But what happens when there is uncertainty over whether someone has murdered someone else, or if that someone has murdered themselves? Forensics, witness testimony and circumstantial evidence need to tell the story of what has happened. And if the weight of that evidence suggests one person murdering another, then it's a matter for a jury to decide. If that jury then find that there has not been a murder, it often leaves a bad taste in the mouth, and often bad feeling on all sides of the court process. We're going to the small city of Evans, Colorado, and to the year 2012, or more accurately 2011 becoming 2012, to look at the case of Ashley Fallis. This is Murderous Crow. In Colorado in 2007, Ashley Rugundin, daughter of Jenna Fox and adoptive father Joel Rugundin, was a single mum of 2 daughters, raising her daughters alone after her marriage to her childhood sweetheart fell apart because they were too young. It's sad, and of course it's a shame, but of course it's all too common in the landscape of 21st century society. But in 2007, Ashley was 23 years old, and she met 33-year-old Tom Fallis, and it seemed a wonderful new relationship for the young mother. Things moved fast with the couple, very fast. Within months, Ashley was pregnant, with her giving birth to their son Blake in early 2008. Just 2 weeks after the birth, Ashley and Tom got married, and shortly after that, Tom also ended up adopting Ashley's 2 daughters, Madeline and Jolie, after their biological father agreed to waive his parental rights. While it seemed picture perfect on the surface, there were concerns within Ashley's family around the speed at which things were moving, as well as certain aspects of Tom's personality that were becoming more evident over time. Speaking after the incident that happened after a New Year's Eve party in 2011/2012 that we will discuss later, Ashley's dad, Joel, said, "It seemed like their relationship progressed really quickly." And speaking about Ashley getting pregnant, Ashley's mum Jenna said, "I think it was a way for them to feel more connected to each other in too short of a period of time." And then further speaking about the marriage and Tom's adoption of Ashley's daughters, Joel said, "We were not happy about that, and we had actually tried to talk Ashley out of it, because Joel himself had adopted Ashley, but was about 7 or 8 years into his relationship with Jenna when he adopted the children." Her parents also said they began to notice disturbing aspects of Tom's personality. "I didn't like his mentality of being right all the time and fighting all the time, and the aggression." A quote there from Ashley's mum, Jenna. By 2011, Tom and Ashley settled in the small town of Evans, about an hour north of Denver. Ashley worked as a respiratory therapist, and Tom took a job as a corrections officer with the Weld County Sheriff's Office, working at the local prison. Speaking again in hindsight, Ashley's mum Jenna said of his choice to work as a corrections officer, "Joel and I were like, that's the perfect job for someone who has an ego that needs to tell people what to do." I think he was a very insecure person, and he wanted total control of her. It's a story we've heard numerous times in the past. Now, the domestic situation between Ashley and Tom became more fraught when their son Blake, still a toddler, was diagnosed with a chronic brain condition, that being hydrocephalus, or fluid on the brain, and that required Blake needing Ashley's constant attention, as well as frequent surgeries for the little boy. It all took a stressful toll on Ashley and their marriage. This added stress on their marriage, along with Tom Fallis being increasingly controlling, led to talk of divorce. Though Tom Fallis, and we only have his word for this, he insisted that things were improving as they approached Christmas of 2011. By that time, the couple had apparently attended couples counselling. Ashley had been on medication for anxiety, and overall Tom felt that they had turned a corner in their relationship. By the time they hosted a New Year party at their Evans home, Ashley had stopped taking her medication, as she believed that she was pregnant again and wanted to take every precaution to protect the child that she thought that she was carrying. On the day of the party, Ashley began to bleed, and thought that she may have miscarried. But despite this emotional struggle, they decided to continue with the party. But it seemed that an undercurrent of frustration and anger seeped through to the party, especially on Tom's part, with him seeming, at least initially, to direct his annoyance at Ashley's mother, Jenna, with her later saying, "There was an eruption during part of the party. Tom had been cussing, and very loudly. So I asked him to stop after a period of time, because he was quite loud, and there were kids in the house. And he got very, very angry with me, but I always knew that Tom hated me." Things ramped up still further when Ashley's uncle was heard to offer her marijuana, and she put on her jacket. Then Tom challenged her with him saying, "Where are you going?" To which she replied, "I'm gonna go have a smoke." With Tom then snapping back at her, "You don't need to go get high," assuming that the smoke was going to be marijuana. As Ashley's parents were leaving the party, and they were the last to leave, they saw Tom Fallis, still very upset, go into the bedroom and slam the door. Ashley's dad Joel said it didn't take much to set him off. Short fuse is the phrase. Ashley followed them outside, and it was around 12:40 a.m. when they said goodbye. When they were asked later about Ashley's state of mind and if she was upset at the time where they were leaving the party, Jenna said she was more resigned to her husband's mood, with Jenna saying no, she was kinda like, whatever. This is normal. This is Tom. With Ashley's dad Joel adding, "We were the last ones to see Tom Fallis, and he was in a fit of rage. Our daughter giving us hugs and goodbye kisses, and her standing on the front porch waving goodbye." According to Tom Fallis, because that's the only real version of events that we have, after everyone had left, he and Ashley had an argument over whether or not she was allowed to do drugs, with Ashley remaining defiant and saying that she would do what she wanted to do. And again, the only personal account for what happened next came from Tom, who said that he had gone into the walk-in closet to change his clothes when he heard the sound of a gun being loaded. And when he was on his way out of the closet to find out what was going on, He heard a gunshot and Ashley collapsed. Tom immediately called 911.
What's the address of your emergency?
No, 57 Lions in the ocean. My wife just shot herself in the head. Please help me. Please help me.
Okay, sir, listen to me. I've got somebody else getting help on the way, okay? Where's she at?
7-Eleven Cincinnati Street. Evans got up. Ashley, no. Ashley, no. Ashley, no. Listen to me. Hey.
How old is she, sir?
Hey, no.
Sure.
Stay in here. Come here. You stay in here. You are not leaving me. You are not leaving me. Stay right here. Hey, you stay right here. Look at me.
Sir.
Look at me. You can hear me. You can hear me. I know you can hear me.
In the early morning hours of New Year's Day 2012, officers from the Evans Police Department responded quickly to the call from the Fallis home. Now, the Evans Police Department was a small department with a total of 36 officers, and this low number was because Evans is a peaceful, low-crime community. And even though Tom Fallis had called in the shooting as a suicide, police brought him in for questioning early that morning, while his parents looked after the children. Investigators were suspicious right away, because neighbours said that they heard yelling.
The 6-year-old came in and she was crying, and I was like, Jolie, just leave. Go get your sister and just tell her to call 911. And my oldest daughter went to come back in. I was like, no, just leave. Just go call 911 and tell them to come. Just come here quick. And I said, open up the front door so they can get in. And the last thing that I heard is that I heard my kids crying in the bedroom, and then I heard that she was still breathing, but they haven't told me anything since.
Let me tell you.
I didn't shoot my wife!
Tell me what happened then. Tell me what happened. Why do you have those scratches on your body?
I just told you.
Why do you have... No, that is not from you doing that.
You know what? Yeah, it is. When you shave your chest, you sit there, and I do this all freaking day.
You're just trying to make more scratches right now.
Oh, my God.
She's telling you to get off of me, get off of me. And you're saying, don't leave me, don't leave me.
Oh.
Why do you think that a neighbor that has nothing to do with this is going to say that?
Which one? The one next door who's trying to kill our dog, or which one?
It doesn't matter which one. You have to explain that.
It never happened. She never said that. You know what? I did. And I've told you. I've told her to f her mom. F them. You don't need to get high. You don't need to go get high because of your mom. You don't need to listen to her anymore.
You were mad at the fact that she was listening to her mom.
I've already told you that.
Yes, and so when you went upstairs, you were arguing with her. And you know you were arguing with her. That wound on the back of her head isn't where she could do it herself, Tom. It is not.
Oh, bull.
It is not.
Bull. Bull.
After Ashley's death, officers questioned the couple's 3 children. No psychologist was present for this. The 2 older children said that they heard yelling in the bedroom. And according to police reports, 6-year-old Jolie made the shocking statement that before the yelling, she heard Dad getting the gun ready and shooting her 3 times. But at the same time, Jolie also said she didn't see Tom Fallis holding the gun because the door was closed. And police only found evidence of 1 gunshot and not 3. So Chief Brandt of the Evans Police Department said that the investigating officers dismissed the child's statements. because there was some contradiction about what she said she saw and then what she couldn't have seen. So the conclusion was drawn that, okay, this isn't reliable for us. Police also found evidence that raised questions about Tom Fallis's version of events. Pictures seemed to have been ripped off the wall, indicating some kind of struggle. Divorce papers were found on the dresser. Ashley had bruises on her legs, and of course, and the fact that a large flashlight had been found on the floor near where she died. Plus, Fallis had been angry at the end of the party, and Ashley's mum Jenna revealed quite how angry Tom Fallis was, with her saying, "He was very angry. Very angry. I mean, he said, 'I wish you would all fucking die.'" Evans police continued to gather evidence and investigated for a further day or two. Their reports indicate that the investigation ceased while forensic tests were pending. After he was questioned that first morning, Tom Fallis was released without charges and was not questioned again. Despite their concerns and evidence pointing to a possible homicide, the coroner ruled Ashley's death a suicide on January the 5th. 4 days after it had happened, and before forensic testing was completed. The case was officially closed 2 months later. And this was in spite of Ashley's parents insisting that there was no reason in the world that their daughter would have committed suicide. But with Tom Fallis free of any charges, he moved with the children to Indiana to attend graduate school. Ashley's parents had lost their daughter, but they didn't want to also lose their grandchildren. So they maintained a relationship with Tom, with Ashley's dad Joel saying at the time, "He's in another state with my grandkids. It's crazy. And that's the life we've been living for 2.5 years. And we continue to do what we need to do because our love for our grandkids is much, much greater and more powerful than the hatred we have for Tom Fallis." But then 2 years later came an unexpected twist. A local television news reporter began his own investigation. The Evans Police Department did rule Ashley's death a suicide and closed the case, and it remained closed until the reporter with the local Fox station, a man named Justin Joseph, got a call with Joseph saying, "I had a source with law enforcement who called me and said something isn't right about this case." So Justin Joseph spent months investigating and interviewing neighbours who had initially spoken to the police. And in April of 2014, he got a major break. A young next-door neighbour, Nick Glover, who was 15 at the time of the incident, told Joseph something about Tom Fallis that was not in the police reports, with him quoting the young man as saying, "I saw him," referring to Tom, "walk out, so we all ducked underneath the windowsill, and his parents were standing outside, and he's saying, 'Oh my God, I can't believe I did it,' 3 or 4 times. And then his parents said, 'What are you saying?' And I remember him saying, 'I shot her.'" And this is what Nick Glover told Justin Joseph. Nick Glover said that he told that to Evans police officer Michael Yates. Nick Glover's mother, Kathy Glover, also spoke to Justin Joseph, telling him that she had received a call that night from another neighbour, and this was a teenager named Chelsea Arrigo. With her quoted as saying, "And I said I've been trying to get a hold of Chelsea. Chelsea does not want to participate." And she goes, "Well, you need to talk to her, because the minute this happened, she called me and said, 'Tell me you called the police, because your neighbour just shot his wife.'" And Justin Joseph went on to say, "And immediately something went off in my head, and I said, 'Can you say that again?' And she said, 'Yeah, Chelsea called me that night right after it happened and said, "Tell me you called the police. Your neighbour just shot his wife." Now this came as a shock, because in the police report it states that Kathy Glover had said that Chelsea Arrigo had said, "Your neighbour just shot herself," which was clearly a major discrepancy. And the Glovers were never presented an opportunity to review their statements. And they thought for 2 years that their statements had been correctly recorded. And they thought that the Evans Police Department had simply declined to prosecute. And so they were as shocked as everyone else was to learn that these statements were omitted and that the statements were changed. So obviously something is awry within the Evans Police Department, it seems. Now, Justin Joseph's reporting changed everything. Chief Brandt of the Evans Police Department asked for the investigation into Ashley's death to be not only reopened, but this time investigated by another police department in nearby Fort Collins, where there were a larger team of investigators. Brandt also ordered a second investigation by yet another department into Officer Yates' alleged omission that an eyewitness came forward saying that he had heard Tom Fallis confess to murder, with the chief saying, "This new information includes alleged eye and ear witness accounts that we were previously unaware of, and are of a serious enough nature to warrant further investigation of this case." No shit, Chief, no shit. The Fort Collins Police Department was now re-investigating the case. And then, more than 2 years after Ashley Fallis' death, Tom Fallis supplied an explosive document. A typed letter allegedly written by Ashley several months before she died. Authorities would not reveal the letter publicly, but it was later quoted in a court document. And this letter, at least in part, read, "Dear Tom, I'm sorry for your pain. I am a failure at everything. I find myself not even liking my children. I do love them. I just can't take this life any longer." And this typed letter was followed by another handwritten note where Ashley says that she is broken and that she has done all I can. In November of 2014, a grand jury was convened to consider all of the evidence, including the alleged suicide notes. And their decision was Tom Fallis being indicted for the murder of his wife, Ashley. The next day, nearly 3 years after Ashley's death, he was arrested in Indiana. At this time, his attorney maintained that he is innocent, he loved Ashley and is a loving father of 3 children. On Wednesday, April the 8th, Justin Joseph reported yet another new development. That being a Weld County deputy sheriff had been suspended for failing to come forward with information he had 3 years before about Ashley Fallis' death. And according to Justin Joseph's sources, that information was that the deputy had been at the scene and had overheard Tom Fallis making an incriminating statement. He heard Tom Fallis allegedly confess to shooting his wife, Ashley, and killing her.
Explosive new discoveries following the death of Ashley Fallis.
Hey, Zach, talk about anything, man.
I'm not going to give you anything.
The mother of 3 shot and killed 3 years ago. Her husband, a Weld County Sheriff's deputy, said it was suicide. Now Tom Fallis is charged with his wife's murder.
Did you kill your wife?
Tonight, the bombshells we uncovered about deputies who responded that night and the evidence they're accused of failing to report. And it is that evidence and those deputies who now face serious questions. Experts say one deputy could even be charged with accessory to murder. Good evening, I'm Jeremy Hubbard.
And I'm Shaul Turner, and for Deborah Takahara. We first reported on this case exactly 1 year ago, and authorities credited our Justin Joseph for the new evidence he uncovered reopening the case, leading to murder charges against Tom Fallis. Justin is live with these new developments and shocking new accusations. Justin.
Shaul, you know, I received a tip about this last week and have been working on it since to confirm it. The accusations center around one deputy who waited 3 years to finally come forward, telling authorities he heard Tom Fallis allegedly confessed to shooting his wife Ashley, killing her. Today I spoke with Ashley's mother. She tells me she is shocked and saddened by these developments. New Year's 2012, a celebration turns to tragedy as Ashley Fallis passes from a single gunshot wound to the head. In response, dispatch reports show one commander and 5 deputies from the Weld County Sheriff's Department respond to the Fallis home to assist the Evans Police Department. But in a shocking development, we've learned not one deputy filed any reports.
Are you from Fox News?
I am.
You need to speak to the Sheriff's Office PIO, please.
We went undercover to ask those deputies why.
There was no one who told you not to write reports that night.
I don't know. I got asked that very question. I truly don't recall as to whether or not we were told not to, or we just didn't. In fact, I believed that I had.
Now this deputy, Chris Graves, is suspended and the subject of an internal affairs investigation.
I mean, I guess my question is there...
What's your question?
Is there a reason that you guys didn't turn that in?
We asked Graves about the new allegations. Sources say he heard Tom Fallis confess and failed to tell investigators about it until last month.
Like I said, I don't have any comment for you.
He's saying, oh my God, I can't believe I did it. Oh my God, what have I done? Oh my God, what have I done? He said that 3 or 4 times, and then his parents kind of hushly said, what? What are you saying? And I remember I heard him distinctly say, I shot her.
It's the same thing Nick Glover, a former neighbor, said he also heard that night. Glover's statement, which we uncovered last year, led to the arrest of Tom Fallis in Indiana, and we were there.
Tom, did you kill your wife?
And now today we're uncovering even more details about the night of Ashley's death. We've confirmed that night, Tom Fallis texted his boss, Jeff Rodriguez, at the Weld County Jail saying, quote, "They think I killed my wife." Rodriguez immediately called his boss, Stephen Reams, who is now the Weld County Sheriff. According to dispatch reports, the Sheriff's Office sent 5 Weld County deputies to the scene, and all were monitored by Reams. Keep in mind, this is an Evans police crime scene. In what one source called a highly unusual move and one against department protocol, none of those 5 deputies filed police reports. The dispatch reports identify the deputies as Commander Paul Wood, deputies Brian Spencer, Patrick Bailey, Andrea Rush, and Chris Graves. Sources identify Chris Graves as the deputy who allegedly heard Fallis's confession, and when police interrogated him, he gave no explanation as to why it took him 3 years to report it.
When you overheard him confess, why didn't you come forward?
I can't comment on that either, nor will I.
Do you think you owe the family an explanation?
I'm not giving you anything, man. Sorry.
Other than that, you've had no involvement until March 19th. I sat down with Sheriff Reams yesterday and asked him what he knew and when he knew it regarding his deputies' actions.
This wasn't about protecting the reputation about the Sheriff's Department?
I can't answer that question. I don't know what the deputies did independently, but there would have been no motivation to do so. They weren't directed to do that. They were never addressed about that. This was simply a case of we're investigating to find out if our policies were correctly adhered to.
The Sheriff Department under Reams' leadership now joins the Evans Police Department as the target of serious questions raised about misconduct at both agencies.
It's outrageous.
The family isn't commenting, but their attorney questions whether an outside agency should step in.
This is classically the kind of case where the Attorney General steps in. They certainly have jurisdiction. And when it has to do with multiple jurisdictions, and especially the alleged wrongdoing of law enforcement people within those jurisdictions.
Rex says Chris Graves could face a conspiracy to commit murder charge if he concealed evidence which will now be instrumental in prosecuting Tom Fallis for his wife's murder. And in the meantime, Ashley's parents have been robbed of their grandparents' rights, and the children remain with his parents, to whom he allegedly confessed. The family has called on the Weld County District Attorney and the Attorney General to open a criminal investigation into this matter. They want prosecutors to offer immunity to those accused so they start naming names. Reporting live, Justin Joseph, Fox 31, Denver.
In March of 2016, the trial began, and Tom Fallis was ready to put on a vigorous defense. With her first words to the jury, Tom Fallis' defense attorney, Rhys Evans, came out fighting, with her saying, "Tom Fallis did not kill his wife and mother of their 3 children. Ashley Fallis committed suicide on January the 1st, 2012. Ashley Fallis was a beautiful woman, but she had a terrible pain inside. She had documented mental illness, was impulsive and self-destructive, and shot herself in the instant of her crisis with her own handgun."
A young wife and mother's death ruled a suicide until the Fox 31 problem solvers did some digging, uncovering new evidence that points to murder.
I didn't shoot my wife!
Her husband maintains his innocence as prosecutors vowed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt
that it is him who pulled the trigger.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Erica Gonzalez in for Deborah Takahara.
And I'm Jeremy Hubbard. It is a murder trial 2 years in the making. Attorneys delivering opening statements today in Weld County Court in a case that would likely never have gone to trial if the Fox 31 problem solvers hadn't gotten involved after being contacted by Ashley Fallis' parents.
And now it's up to a jury to decide if Fallis is guilty. We've got special team coverage starting with Fox 31 Denver's Julie Hayden. She's live at the courthouse with what happened in court today. Julie?
Well, you know, the family says they have waited 4 years for their day in court to testify against the man they believed killed their daughter. On the other hand, though, defense attorneys say Ashley's family simply cannot accept the truth that she killed herself.
Say there's no way 28-year-old Ashley Fallis committed suicide after hosting a New Year's Eve party at her Evans home.
A wife, a mother, who just spent the entire night with her friends and family.
Witnesses say she was having fun.
She was just in a good mood.
Prosecutors say what they call missteps by Evans police led to an initial ruling of suicide, but new information and an analysis of the crime scene show that Ashley died when her husband, former Weld County Jail Deputy Tom Fallis, shot her in the head.
Whether you believe that Ashley Fallis, a young mother of 3, with her whole life ahead of her, in a matter of moments, went from happy-go-lucky and saying goodbyes to her parents, to walking into her bedroom, pulling out a gun, her kids, just rooms away, 2 of them still awake, and putting a bullet in her head. Or whether you believe that the one person who every witness will describe as being as angry as you could possibly be, whether that person, in the course of those 4 minutes, is the one who's responsible for her death.
I can no longer go on living this life.
But defense attorneys say Ashley had a history of mental illness and was suicidal that night, having suffered a miscarriage that morning.
Tom Fallis did not kill his wife.
Fallis cried as defense attorneys describe what they say happened. He watched from across the room as his, quote, soulmate grabbed her gun and killed herself.
The science proves it. The evidence proves it. Ashley's own words proved that she committed suicide.
Now, there are a lot of emotions here at the courthouse in Weld County. Families on both sides are scheduled to testify, as are the couple's 2 young daughters. The trial itself expected to take about 3 weeks. In Greeley, Julie Hayden, Fox 31 Denver.
It's going to be emotional. Thank you so much, Julie. Now, an investigation by former Fox 31 Denver problem solver Justin Joseph is what broke this case wide open, and the defense addressed that in court today.
Justin Joseph, a reporter with Fox News, took on their story. A reporter whose job it is to make ratings.
Justin now works at our sister station in Virginia, but he's still following this trial very closely. He joins us live now from Norfolk. Justin, what was your take on day 1 of these proceedings?
Well, I thought both sides did reasonably well, but hanging over the courtroom from what I was able to listen to was, remember, 2 people have allegedly heard Tom Fallis confess to this crime, and so you saw a lot of really tactics from the defense to create distractions. From what I'm told from people who were inside the courtroom, really that hung over this as jurors are anxious to get to that evidence.
And, Justin, we heard from friends and former co-workers of both Ashley and Tom Fallis on the stand tonight, folks who had spent Ashley's last night alive with Ashley and Tom. Who had the most compelling testimony, do you think?
I think really many of them did. You heard from one of her former co-workers who talked about how Ashley was a fun-loving person. That night she was in a good mood despite what the alleged news about her pregnancy said. I thought a lot of it was very compelling, but I don't think really either side scored many points today, to be perfectly honest.
And a quick question, gunshot residue, a lot of talk about that in court today too. Whose side did that help or hurt?
I thought that was one of the defense's most powerful points. They said that Ashley Fallis did not have GSR or gunshot residue on her hands, whereas, or rather, she did have that on her hands, whereas Tom Fallis did not. However, having said that, there's going to be a lot of other evidence that comes out, and I think you'll see that over the next 3 weeks that does support, at least what the family says, the evidence that Tom Fallis shot his wife.
All right, Justin, good to see you again. I'm sure we'll be chatting again soon. Thanks for all your coverage on this case. Remember, we have been covering this case since the very beginning. You can count on us for continuing courtroom coverage and insight you won't get anywhere else. We'll be live tweeting from the courtroom throughout the entire trial.
And surprisingly, the defense used the prosecution's own witnesses to make their case. That being that Ashley, already a volatile personality, was drinking heavily the night of the party, with the defense attorney saying she was intoxicated, she had just suffered a miscarriage, she was a pressure cooker. When Ashley's uncle was cross-examined by one of the other defense attorneys, the uncle admitted that there was a history of suicide in the family. However, Ashley's therapist, Dr. Russell Johnson, told the jury that he did not consider her to be a danger to herself. That said, when pushed by the defense, Dr. Johnson acknowledged that he was unaware of all of the medications that Ashley was taking in the run-up to the event, including prescriptions she had received from other doctors. But when Ashley's mother, Jenna Fox, was questioned by prosecutor Ben Whitney, she repeated what she and her husband, Joel Rugundin, had said all along, that Ashley was fine throughout the party and that Tom was the one who erupted at the end of the night. And there were those key witnesses that Justin Joseph had spoken to following Ashley's death. Nick Glover, the next door neighbour, who said that he heard Tom Fallis confessing. And Glover told the jury that he remembered it all very clearly, with Glover testifying, "I heard him saying, 'Oh my God, what have I done? Oh my God, what have I done?'" And he proceeded to say, "I shot my wife." But conversely, Tom's parents deny that that conversation ever happened, which you would expect them to do whether it happened or whether it didn't. The forensic testimony from the night of the shooting was crucial. The state's expert, Dan Gilliam, who spent 400 hours examining the case, explained to the jury where Ashley's head had to have been when the fatal shot went off, with him physically demonstrating in court and saying, "She has to be down in this position, somewhere like this," he explained as he bent to his knees within a model of the Fallis bedroom, with him saying, "The rod going through my head has to line up with this rod." But on cross-examination, his conclusion seems to favour not necessarily the prosecution's case, but rather the defence's case. And to counter this fuck-up in testimony, the prosecution called a second nationally renowned forensic expert, a man named John Priest, who told the jury that he concluded the opposite. That Tom Fallis had to be near Ashley when she was shot, with him saying, "My ultimate opinion is that at the time the shot was fired, Tom and Ashley Fallis were in contact with each other or very near each other." John Priest also suggested to the jury that the evidence shows that the two of them could have been struggling as the gun went off, with him saying, "We could be struggling over this firearm to where I've got it up against her head, threatening, yelling, whatever," Priest explained as he demonstrated within the model that had been created of the bedroom. "I could have it here. She could be reaching up and grab it at the time of the discharge. Firearm goes off. I could drop the firearm, pull her into my hip, turning to create this stain, and then come back down here onto the floor." So it was very messy and contentious. So was it murder, or had Ashley Fallis taken her own life? Faced with conflicting theories, the jury needed to weigh up the contradicting evidence. And after just 3.5 hours of deliberation, which I should point out also included an hour's break for lunch, can't beat a free lunch, the judge read the jury's decision.
respectfully find the defendant Thomas Fallis not guilty of murder in the second degree. And
the final decision, a former Weld County deputy did not shoot and kill his wife. That's the verdict that came down late this afternoon from the jury in the murder trial against Tom Fallis. Denver 7 reporter Lance Hernandez is covering this breaking news right now in Greeley. And Lance, describe what you saw in the courtroom when this verdict was read.
Eric, there was emotion on both sides. Now, the judge had warned against any outbursts, emotional outbursts in his courtroom ahead of time. When that verdict was read, Tom Fallis' attorney immediately, overcome with emotion, she began to cry. Now, Ashley's family cast their eyes downward. Afterwards, Fallis hugged both of his attorneys. Now, we had hoped to get some reaction from Tom Fallis, from Ashley's parents and both prosecutors and defense attorneys, but none of them wanted to talk, at least not yet. Tom Fallis walked out of that courtroom a free man. Now, this ends the criminal saga against the former Weld County Sheriff's deputy, but there is still a lawsuit, a civil lawsuit pending against him by Ashley Fallis' parents. A legal expert told me this could be like the O.J. Simpson case. O.J. Simpson exonerated criminally, but he lost the wrongful death case. We don't know yet, though, if Ashley's parents intend to go through with that civil lawsuit. Reporting live in Greeley, Lance Hernandez, Denver 7.
And with that, Tom Fallis was free. Since these proceedings concluded, Jenna Fox and Joel Ragundin have been extremely outspoken in criticizing the decision that was made in court. What lies ahead for their relationship with their 3 grandchildren who are now back in Tom's care remains unclear, and it will be a rocky road, I'm sure. But they are committed to preserving Ashley's memory in the children's minds. With them quoted as saying, "Madeline, Jolie and Blake, I want to talk to you about your mother. She loved you guys wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. She loved life. And because she loved life so much, that's why I know that my daughter would never have taken her own life." Jenna and Joel now have visitation rights for the grandchildren, but this is only crumbs of comfort after losing their beloved daughter in such controversial circumstances. So what do you guys think? I would encourage you to look deeper into this case so that you can develop your own informed opinion. But this case is one that is riddled with doubt, regardless which stance you end up taking. And as we know, doubt in a courtroom makes it difficult for the jury to be certain either way. And these doubts meant that ultimately Tom Fallis could not be convicted. But regardless of the legal ramifications or lack thereof, a young mum of 3 still died in the early hours of the 1st of January 2012. And her children still had to and still have to grow up without her. And that is always a tragic thing. This episode is dedicated to Ashley Fallis, and the children that had to grow up without the warmth of her guiding light. Thank you for watching another episode of Murder of Crows. I'm Steve. This here is Samson, and we will see you when we see you.
Say that you're ready, but you won't like it, you say